Hello and welcome back to X-Plane 11. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, and today I'm going to be showing you how I sort out my Ortho4XP. So I'm going to be giving you a full tutorial on Ortho4XP as to what I understand of it, and we're going to be turning this, which is Mallorca, as you can see, not looking great in default X-Plane, not absolutely terrible. There seems to be a little bit here and there. We're going to be seeing if we can turn this into something that looks, well, rather stunning to fly into. Of course, the airport looks great thanks to the Airport Environment X by, is it Mr. X? I suppose it is Mr. X. Absolutely fantastic looking airport. He's really outdone himself with the taxiways and things like that. So that looks really great, and all the runway markings and whatnot. But obviously the scenery all around is not the greatest. Things don't look great. So I'm going to be showing you two things here. One, how to do Ortho4XP, and two, how to get rid of these sort of green boxes around the houses and things like that, which of course is also detracting further from the actual scenery itself. As you can see, the ground here is in this sort of colour, and then we've got all of these, which just does not make sense. So make sure you stay tuned for this, which is going to be a lengthy episode, I suppose, since I've got a lot of explaining to do, to see if we can turn this entire island, and I do mean the entire island of Mallorca, into something that looks absolutely stunning to fly into. So we can have a look at this entire area right now, just seeing what it looks like, and we're going to be converting it into something that hopefully looks 100 times better. Yeah, make sure you stay tuned for that. Okay, so this is what we need to do to install Ortho4XP. First of all, get it installed, and I'll show you how to do it. Now, we're not going to be installing this version. Oscar here is constantly working on Ortho4XP, but what we need to do is we need to go to that link, which I'll leave in the description box below. We can go to see all activity, and all we've got to do is find any of his posts and just click Windows binary package for V130, and we just need to download that. Now, I could just leave that in the description box as well, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leave I'm probably going to leave his profile in the description box, because it might be worth you guys looking at some of the stuff that he does. So, okay, so once you've gone and downloaded that, what we need to do is we need to extract that, and also the other thing we need to download, I'm going to leave a link to this, is Photo Scenery Autogen 1.2 library. So that's the two things we need to download. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you guys to, in fact, we're going to ignore this for now. I've just extracted it, but I'm going to ignore it for now. We're going to go into Ortho4XP, go to binary, and then we're going to run the program, which is down there, Ortho4XP. You can create a shortcut or whatever you want to do. It still works, but I'm just going to run it from there. First time you run it, you might see some text in this command box. Don't worry about the command line text that's coming up. Nothing to worry about. It's just creating some temporary files that may not have been created the first time around, so it's just doing some temporary files for you. Now, before you do any of that, then, before we start creating our ortho scenery, we need to set this up. So I'm going to show you how to set all of this up. The first thing we need to do is set up the base folder right here. So you can see that I've got it as X-Plane 11 Custom Scenery, which is this folder right here. So if you want to know where to find that, go into your X-Plane 11 folder, Custom Scenery, that's the folder you want. So you can copy that, and you can just paste that in there. Alternatively, you can click on that icon there and just navigate to it, and that's your job done. The second thing you need to do is go on to settings. Now I'm going to show you, there are a bunch of settings here, as you can see. Don't worry about the amount of settings that we have. I'm going to show you the important ones, and you can explore the other ones just by clicking on them, and it tells you sort of what kind of stuff you have and what kind of information you have on there. Now, road levels might be set to 1 for you. I've set my road levels to 2. I'm playing around with this a little bit, but that's what I'm sort of looking at. The zoom level, right, mesh zoom level will be pre-processed to accept later combination of imageries up to whatever the mesh zoom level is. So I'm going to set this up to 20, and the reason I'm going to set this up to 20 is in case I want to do 20 in certain places. So that's what I'm going to do on that. So I'd set that to 20 just in case we want this zoom level to be 20, and I'll explain the zoom levels very, very soon. This one here, curvature TOL. Now, if you put a higher value on this, you'll get a higher frame rate because it's going to simplify the triangles, or it's not going to create as much triangles on the mesh itself. So if you're having trouble with frame rates, maybe turn that to 3. Default is 2. I would try 1, but at the moment I'm not sure what that's going to do, so I don't want to try 1 on camera. I'll try that afterwards. So there we go. We've got a bunch of stuff here. If smaller, it supersedes curvature over airport neighborhoods. So that obviously makes it a much finer mesh around the airports. And that's the extent in kilometers around the airports where this one applies. So I'll increase this to, let's go for 3 kilometers around the airport. No, let's not do 3. Let's do 2 kilometers around the airport. So it's got a much finer mesh around the airport there. And I'll actually try this. Let's try 1.5. Yeah, let's try 1.5 and see exactly what happens on that. I don't know whether that's a good idea, but we're going to try that. Mesh refinement is mostly based on the curvature computations. No, let's leave that on 2. I don't want to mess around with that. I do not want to mess around with that right now. You've got the coast one, which is set to 1. So we'll do 2.0 and we'll do 2.0. So around the coast, it's going to make sure that it's a much higher resolution once again. And again, how far from the coastline it does that. So we can bring that up. I'll bring that up to 1 there. In fact, I will bring that down to 1.5. There we go. Job done. We're not going to do any limits on the triangles. We're not going to do any of that. We're not going to worry about this mesh algorithm here. We're not going to worry about the minimum angle here. It'll say try not to have mesh triangles within seconds, smallest angle. So we're not going to worry about that. None of this needs to be worried about. We're not going to worry about the mask zoom level. Actually, let's bring this mask zoom level up. I'm actually going to bring this up to 16. Yeah, we're going to bring this mask zoom level up to 16 because I think we might be doing a few things around the water. So I'm going to bring that up to 16. You can leave it at 14 if you want. The width of the mask I'm going to leave as it is. Masking mode I'm going to put on sand. Use mask for inland I'm going to set to true because what that will mean is that if you have water inland, so like let's say a lake or something, for example around Geneva or whatever, it will fill that up with water from X-plane as opposed to just a picture, which obviously won't look as good. So we're going to set that to true. Leave the rest as it is. We're not going to do custom DEM, so we're going to leave that as well. That's all about elevation management. And then we'll have a look at DSF imagery. I'm going to leave this to false. What it will try and do is it will try to bring anything around an airport in the area. It's going to try and bring up the zoom level itself, but we're going to do that manually. Not going to worry about that. Cover zoom level, again, it's what it's saying the airports, what it's going to try and do. You can bring that up 18. Again, you can try and do that on 20 if you want. This is one that I would change, ratio to water. So it says here, inland water rendering is made of 2 layers. The bottom layer, which is X-plane water, and then the overlay of the orthophoto. So what I'm going to do is I've changed that to 1 to make sure that there is a full transparency on that orthophoto, because I don't want the orthophoto at the top. Then we've got level of detail. I'm going to leave all of this as it is. We're not going to worry about that. Obviously, IFR flyers need a higher value than VFR, but it does have an impact on the frame rate and the amount of RAM. We're going to leave this as it is. We're going to leave that as it is, and we're going to leave the rest as it is. So that is that setup. There are a lot of settings here, as you can see, but most of them are absolutely fine to leave as they are. Down here on the application itself, we're going to leave these as they are. We're going to change this one. Now for this one, if we go back to here, what we need to set it to is global scenery and global scenery there. That one right there is what we need to set it to. So if we go over here, you can see that that's set to X-plane 11, global scenery, X-plane 11, global scenery. That's what we need. Aside from that, we're going to also go on this one. Skip converts is true. So we don't want to convert anything at this point in time, and I'll explain why in a while when we actually get around to doing some of the conversions. It's just a matter of efficiency and generally speed. And also set that to the amount of cores you have on your computer. Now you could try that on 8. I wouldn't. If you've got an 8 core, put that to 8. If you've got a quad core like me, put it to 4. I've got hyperthreading, and as most cores do have hyperthreading, I do wonder whether 8 would work, but I'm going to leave it on 4. Everything else can be left exactly as it is. After you've done that, just go ahead and write app config, apply and exit, or apply, write app config, and then exit. So our settings are done. We never have to touch the settings anymore. What we now need to do is we need to find out where we're going to be working. So we are going to be doing 2 tiles here, and you can see that there are 2 tiles. So because there are 2 tiles, I'm actually going to start with this tile, and then I'll do the other tile off camera. But I'm going to show you how to do 1 tile first of all. So you've got 39002 and 39003. That's the ones that we're going to be working on. Fine. So all we need to do is we're just going to close that for now. We're going to go to zoom level. That's one right there. Now, we can use Google, you can use Bing, we can do previews like that. So whatever we've selected, we should be able to preview. And there you go. We've got our preview here, and you can see right-clicking allows us to move. And there we go. That's the tile that we've selected. So we've got this part of Mallorca sorted out. Yeah, Palma, Mallorca, whatever it's called. So we've got the other part to still go, but we are going to just do this part. Now, actually, I've got a good idea here. I'm actually not going to do the second part on camera so that we can actually visually see the difference. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So that we can visually see the difference, I'm not going to do the second part. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this entire part. And you can see here that there's the island, there's the airport right there that we were looking at. So we need to figure out what we're going to be doing with that. Now there are other ones, for example, Bing, that you can use. There you go. And you can see the only problem with Bing is that you have these weird areas like that. I mean, this doesn't look too bad at all. In fact, this looks very good. But it does have the weird shading. Sometimes Bing also has clouds that come up above it. But in this one, there are no clouds. Interesting. Very, very interesting. But we're not going to be using Bing. We're going to be using Google today. So there you go. It looks slightly different, slightly brighter. But overall, it looks pretty much the same. Now, if we have a look at this, you can see here we've got zoom level 15 to start with. I'm actually going to bring that up to zoom level 16 to start with, which means that everything on here is going to be shown at zoom level 16. Our preview is 13, so it's going to be at a higher zoom level than this. So it's going to look better. However, we have 17, 18 and 19 available here. Now, in the areas that we're going to be, for example, coming into land, maybe along that path there, flying in here, we're probably going to want a higher zoom level. So what you do is click on the zoom level you want, and there's 2 ways to do this. You can either create a zone by holding the shift key and creating a zone. I'm not going to do that because that's a little bit difficult. Or you can have the control key and it creates them as boxes, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now I'm actually going to bring this zoom level down, only because with the zoom level down, oh no, that's not going to work for us. Never mind, that's not going to work how I want it to work. We'll do what we need to do in zoom level 13. Right, so we're going to create an area around the airport that's all going to be at zoom level 19. Now remember what we said about the water. Because we're not actually doing the water, we don't need to make sure we don't need to go all the way out in the water. So you can right click and get rid of certain areas like so. But I'm actually going to leave that particular one there. Now also, I feel like it's going to look pretty cool if we had all of this at zoom level 19. Now don't forget that the higher the zoom level, in fact I haven't explained this so you couldn't forget it, the higher the zoom level, the more space it's going to take, the more memory it's going to take to load, so on and so forth, the more hard drive space it's going to take. So make sure that you're doing things cleverly. You're not, you know, doing massive zoom levels all over the place. So for example, in the town itself, if you want zoom level 19, you can. So you can see you could do zoom level 19 across the entire city, like so, which I am going to probably do for this one. But aside from that, we're going to go over to zoom level 18 after that, and then down to 17, and then of course the rest of it is 16 already. And you can see here the additional size being shown there is actually going up and up and up. Right, that looks pretty good. Yeah, that area there. In fact, we'll do that. And let's see what zoom level 18 starts giving us. So if we go 19 along the coastline, like so. Let's have a look at the 18s. So there you go, there's 18. So we'll now do zoom level 18 all the way around here. So you can see that we've got to actually include 19 in some places. Could probably stick 18 in there. 18 will go there. And we could do zoom level 18 all the way along here. And the thing is, you've got to play around with this. You can't just do what I'm doing all the time and just go, right, that's going to work, because sometimes it won't. Sometimes you'll have some really weird lines, and you can only find out after you've done it that you're going to get these weird lines. So we'll do 19 all the way along here to ensure that we've got maximum coverage. And at this point you can see I'm actually starting to box it off with the zoom level 18. And the reason I'm doing that is because when we go to 17 very shortly, we're going to need to have a box because it's going to be more difficult if we don't have a box. 18 please. And you can just see the size of this. It's already gone up a massive amount. And I'm actually doing this on purpose. I'm actually making it go up these massive amounts on purpose. I wouldn't do this, or I didn't do this for example, I've done Malaga and Gibraltar, and I wouldn't have done it for that. But now from here, I'm going to zoom level 17, as you can see. So we're doing zoom level 17 in this area, and I'll do zoom level 17 all the way along here, and up and around here. And you can see that because of this, I'm going to actually ensure that all of this is zoom level 17 too. And the rest of it, we could pretty much leave as 16. So we'll do that, and we'll do that. That one there as well. And we'll do that area. That's the rest of the tile, and you can see that up there we've still got a quite a significant amount to go. But that's going to be 17. We could always do a double if you wanted. That's, you can normally do, a double area of zoom level 17, but I think this is pretty good. Coming in over the mountains, if we're thinking about the airport, maybe we'll fly in over the mountains. Maybe you want this at zoom level 17, but I'm going to leave it at 16 just to give you an idea of what things look like. And then we'll finish off this area, just making sure that we've got everything actually contained properly. So that's all contained, that's all contained, that's all contained. There we go. That's pretty much all done there. We need to do this area down here. And you can see that this is going to be a massive one. This is going to be 5 gigabytes overall. Just to make sure that all of that's contained, which it is. Great. And that is the entire area that we want sorted out. So that's looking pretty good. So now we've selected it and we've got all the different zoom levels, and that's going to give us a lot of detail in this area. We could really change this to 18 if we wanted to. A lot of detail in this area, he says, where he's actually forgotten these parts. There you go. It's going to give us a lot of detail in this area, but it's going to take up a lot of space. 5.2 gigabytes. So that's going to mean that if you're flying into this area often, yeah, that's probably a good idea. But if you're not flying into this area often, not a good idea to be doing something like that. It's actually kind of silly. But I plan to be flying into this airport quite a bit, so that's why I want to get the entire island done. Now, if the entire island's done, it's probably going to be about 10-15 gigabytes for the entire island. So now that we've done that, we'll press apply, and we can close that. Now, if we go back into it, you'll see that if we do the same preview, it should come back. There you go. And you can see everything is still back. So that's set up for us. Now, what we need to do next is quite simply just press all in one. And this is where it's going to download all the images. And this could take a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click that. It's going to start creating everything. And then I'm going to leave it. And I'll be back once it is completed in probably about 10 minutes. Okay, so some 8 minutes 49 seconds later, our process is completed, and you'll note that if we go into the custom scenery folder now for X-Plane, we've got a new folder there, Z Ortho4XP underscore, and our longitude, latitude, and longitude, or longitude, latitude, sorry. Now, latitude, longitude, why did I say longitude, latitude? There you go. So you've got our latitude there, we've got our longitude right there. Now, this is interesting right here, is that if for any chance or perchance something's happened and you've got a bunch of folders that have appeared and this folder hasn't appeared, just look for a folder that says EarthNav data, terrain textures, and then there'll be these files like that, data files and files like that, and just create the folder yourself and pop them in. And that should do the trick, just in case. And then just double check that you've got your base folder correct and it wasn't just set out somewhere else. So it's got, make sure you've got a slash, for example, at the end, which might not have been on the earlier picture. So just make sure you've done that. And of course, like I said, it's quite easy to set it like that. So now that that's done, we're not completed yet. It's not done yet. Our next step is going to be to go to the settings right here and then click change this to false. Apply that, exit, and then just press this one here. And you can see that we've got two bars that are full, and this is the third bar. So this is going to start doing the conversions. Now, the reason we do it like this is because instead of it downloading and then converting and then waiting for the next one to download, the conversion process is a lot faster than the process for downloading. So if you've got them all downloaded first, you're not causing essentially a bottleneck where you've downloaded one, you're waiting for it to convert. You've converted it, you have to wait for the next one to download. So what it does here is it's checking them and it's just creating the textures very, very quickly. So that just makes it more efficient overall. So you can see that here, whilst I'm talking, it's actually going through and actually converting all the textures nice and quickly. I'm not actually going to do anything. I'm not going to actually skip this. I want you guys to see how quickly this actually happens. So you can see already we're almost halfway through. And that just shows just how easy it is to actually do this and why you do it in that fashion. Now, after we've done this, or whilst we're doing this, you might as well go ahead and download, if you haven't yet downloaded the game mods, let's see which one is scenery. If you haven't yet downloaded the photo real scenery, you might as well go ahead and download that. And what you do is, whilst that's happening, you can drag this, so once you've extracted it, drag that into here. And that's all you need to do with that. We can now delete that folder. And we're fine. And I'm going to go back into the Ortho4XP, and we're going to leave it in here because we're going to need that very shortly. Go back to this. You can see now we're almost done on this. And there is one other thing that we're going to have to do, or two other things that we're going to have to do. But don't worry about that. It's very easy to do. I just have to show you how to do it and just follow the steps. That's essentially what it is. Whether you know a lot about computers or you don't, or you know about how to build this and do that, this tool does it all for you. We don't have to do things in Python anymore. It's a tool is written in Python, very nicely written, I have to admit. It does a lot of great stuff here, but we don't have to worry about running certain types of code or anything like that. This is covering it all for you, which is absolutely fantastic. And this is slowed down a little bit. That's fine. And if by any chance at any point, you know, it fails, we can always go back to it and see what textures need to be downloaded. So this one's clearly taking a little bit of time, but we don't have to worry. It's still doing it. There it goes. It was taking its own sweet time to sort it out. But you can see that that's 5 gigabytes of... Was it over 5 gigabytes? I cannot even remember how much it was. We're about to check. We are about to check as soon as it's done how big these files are. I mean, the one that I did for Malaga was 2.5 gigabytes. The one I did for Gibraltar was 2.5 gigabytes, thereabouts. Those two were not done with the kind of detail that we're doing this one on. And of course we also had some of the overlays, but the overlays are pretty small. I'll show you how to make the overlays momentarily. Also, at this point in time, it's a good idea if you're doing things like this to have something like Notepad++. There you go, right, that's completed. Let's have a look at how big this is. 4 gigabytes, there you go. It's 4 gigabytes, absolutely fine. Now, after we've done this, we need to do something else. We need to go back to zoom levels. No, we don't. We need to go back to the world. And you can see here, we've got our first one. Right, now, what we want to do is we want to select that one. So we're going to double click. We can also go into, now this is where we need to select it into batch build. So you want to do shift and click on it so it goes red, like so. Select it to batch build. We want to not do any of that. We just want to press extract overlays. And we want to press batch build. And you'll note that it'll do it right here very quickly. 3.75 seconds. We're done. But you will also note, if we close this, nothing's shown up here. So the reason that's not shown up is because it's over here. That's where the overlay's gone. Now, if I press F2 and I will rename this. Now, there's two things I can rename this. I could either rename this or, well, you can rename anything in any, you can rename it to anything you want. However, I'm actually going to name it as I've been naming these ones. So that's going to be the airport code itself. So the airport code for Palma is LEPA, so Lima Echo Papa Alpha. So I'm going to do that. Now the other part of Mallorca, I'm going to just name Mallorca because there's no airport there. And I will drag this across into here. Done. Now, at this point, we can close Ortho4XP. We no longer need it. It is all in X-Plane now. However, we're still not done. So, what we now do is open up the scenerypacks.ini. I'll open this up in Notepad. Yes, whatever it is. Right, so there we have it. Scenerypacks.ini, nicely loaded. Now, the way we need to do this is airports go at the top, then goes some custom scenery, then we'll have libraries, then we'll have other sort of custom, well, this one for here, for some reason the Orbex stuff is down here, the custom scenery. That custom scenery really should be, in fact, I'm going to move it right now. I'm actually going to move the custom scenery up here. There we go. Okay, now we have the custom scenery up there. Then we're going to have libraries, then we're going to have overlays, then we'll have the ortho scenery, and then the last thing you have is mesh. Now, ortho scenery comes with a mesh, but you'll notice that we haven't got the new ones in. So, if you've got something like Notepad++ and you've done ortho before, all you've got to do is press Ctrl D, and it adds another line. And over here, I can just type in the new longitude, latitude, and longitude. So it's going to be +002. Done. That's that one done. Now we've got to get the overlay in for Lima Echo Papa Alpha. So I'll go here and I will do that and just change this to Lima Echo, Papa, Alpha. Done. Now lastly, remember earlier on in the video we moved this across. Photo Scenery AutoGen. Well, that's a library and we need to add that library into this as well. So I'm actually going to add that library at the bottom, and I'm going to do Scenery Pack, Custom Scenery, and well, we don't have anything here that we can use. Custom Scenery slash. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to copy this. You could rename this anything you want, but I'm going to copy that by pressing F2, copy that, paste that, add a slash at the end, and we are done. We can now save that, and let's go into X-Plane 11 and see what that area, that half of Mallorca looks like now. And here we are. Welcome to Mallorca in X-Plane 11 with ortho scenery. Now that looks really, really nice. And as you can see, the buildings no longer have the little grass patches around them. So they look really cool. Also, I don't remember buildings being right here. Were there? Maybe there were. But there we go. There is Mallorca like that. Now, unfortunately, this is where Google does start to show some problems. You can see that there is a line across there, and the scenery changes. Now that is something that we need to then work on. So this is something that we're going to have to figure out how to improve, and we're going to have to figure out how to fix that little bit of scenery, which clearly does not work with this scenery. As a matter of fact, it just doesn't look like it was taken at the same time. So that area there is clearly a problem, and we'll have to figure out what's going on. Now if we have a look over in this direction, let's ignore that for now, but this is one of the problems that you can have with ortho, and that's why products like Orbex's True Earth products and things like that look so much better and work so much better. But if we have a look at the town over here, you can see the detail that is now present, even though you can't see it over the ortho photos, but you can see the detail that is present all the way around here, which is pretty nifty. That's a really good amount of detail all the way around the town. But again, we do have that issue of, you can see the tiles, and that is the downside. So as well as showing you the upside of it, you can see the downside of this scenery. Also, I think it's improved the mesh. I think it has improved the mesh. But there's the upside and downside of the scenery being shown right there. So what I would need to do now is try and figure out, can I improve upon this further somehow? Because clearly I don't want to be flying in with that kind of tile. That's something I don't want to be flying with. That's not too bad. That swap's not too bad as we're going through the different zoom levels. In fact, that's... Where does the... Oh, there you go. We can also go across. I tell you what, we will go across to where it ends too. I forgot there was another airport there. And we'll just have a look, just to see the whole difference. Can I go across there quickly, by any chance? So this area looks pretty good. It's just where we've swapped out. Now, I think, if I'm correct, this is zoom level 19 all the way around. So for some reason, that zoom level's rather interesting. But as we fly over to this side, you can have a good look at how this looks. And that's actually really nicely done. You can see the mesh is fairly good. You can always improve the mesh further. But you can actually clearly see the old scenery over on that side. Come on. as quickly as we possibly can. There's got to be a faster way to do this. There is a faster way to do this. I'm not going to do it though, because we're already almost at where we need to be. And that's that border. So obviously we've done half of the island, but it's not perfect. So that's the downside to the whole Ortho4XP, is that sometimes it's just not going to run perfectly, and you're going to have to play with it, and you're going to have to try and work it out, and you're going to have to try and figure out what's going on. And here is the border. You can actually see the road just disappears on this one. And the textures change quite significantly. So this is zoom level 16 textures. So you can see that at this kind of altitude, they're not great. They are not great at all. You need to be a lot further up for the 16s over here. So maybe I might look at changing all of this to zoom level 17, for example, to see how it looks. But there's the difference. I think extremely visible right there. There's an extreme visible difference between Ortho4XP and the standard mesh. There you go. So for some place like this, obviously I want to work on it even further, because that all looks messed up. That really doesn't look great. So I want to work on that further. I want to try and figure out. That was all zoom level 18, I think. I think that entire area was all 18. So those must have been 18 or 19 tiles? I don't know. See, that's what you've got to then go and figure out. But, like I said, you can see the difference. And clearly, once you've got it working, it's going to look so much better as this, as opposed to that. So hopefully that's given you an idea as to what Ortho4XP can do and how powerful it actually is. I'm going to have to go back and try and work out this section, try and figure out what's the issues with this section here. Because if I can figure that out, that would be really, really handy. I might just turn all of this into zoom level 17. So I think this one's a bit washed out, but it still looks a bit better than this. So if I turn it all to zoom level 17, and then if I wanted to, I could actually adjust these tiles manually. But I don't think that's worth me doing. So for example, I could look for that particular tile and try and figure out what's gone on with it and adjust the colours accordingly to the tile. But that would be incredibly difficult, and it's not something I want to do. Yeah, I don't think that's something I want to do at all. But hopefully, like I said, that's given you an idea as to what can be done. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on X-Plane 11. Leave a comment in the comments box below, letting me know what you think. If there are any areas that you have done in X-Plane that you know work really, really well, do let me know. I'm sure these were all zoom level 19. So now I'm thinking, should I bring that all down to 18 and see what happens? But then those were 18. That's an 18. So something's clearly happened here that we need to work on. Oh well, it does take time to get this sorted. It does take time to get it working. But thank you very much for watching. Like I said, please remember to hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel, complete with the notifications bell to know when I upload more content for X-Plane 11. I do a fair amount. I do quite enjoy flying, and I think you can see from my channel there's plenty of X-Plane videos, so lots for you to enjoy. Do support me on Patreon, www.patreon.com/ECGadget. your support would be massively appreciated. It would really help me out. That's a really nice angle for a thumbnail though. That is a really nice angle for a thumbnail. It would really, like I said, it would really help me out. Also, you can find me on social media at ECGadgetLP for both Twitter and Instagram. That's all from me, and I'll see you guys next time in X-Plane 11, where, well, I might be looking at some other tool. I might be doing a flight. I'll just be seeing what I can do. I'll see you guys then.